That's brought to you by Thunder Robot, Born for Gaming. That would take it away from what happened here in the beginning of the game.
I mean, a lot of aggression immediately off the rip here as we do see the ults come in as they're absolutely flying in. And sadly, Arano getting caught in that corner here with the purple shield coming in from Arano. A lot of good dives coming through here. Surprisingly, really tough to see Mike really try to dish it out for some of these play styles here. And sadly, just was kind of unsuccessful in some of the fights. You know, usually we see Mike really play well through a lot of these here, and he just got smacked like a New York City rapper. Like, what are you doing, son? What are you talking about? Meanwhile, we head back towards the other orders here. Mike's still able to do a little bit of some magic here and still getting some really nice eliminations to get him back in the game here. But sadly, it wasn't able to do enough here. It looks like Yuan was able to capture a 3-2 piece to be able to get himself a little bit more ahead of the pack here. But look at Mike, steady pushing towards this. Wolfang trying to hold on as long as possible, but not going to be able to do enough. The falling parry able to do a lot. And look at Yuan, able to capture a freebie here while everybody else was really scattering around, trying to see what he can do here. As AS using the flight, ends up getting caught inside of that moment here. But then look at AS, able to capture a decent amount of eliminations from that, and still was able to capture some stuff from the pistol. It seems what's happening around him and really being smart towards that final push was able to give him exactly what he needed to not only clutch up.
Once we're going to go through here, we're going to have some clips and highlights brought to you by Thunder Robot, Born for Gaming. Now, Mike, this is the kill I mentioned earlier, right? Frostus goes down, and then Fong found Mike straight up, and that's going to be where Fong, which is catching him after a jump, and that was a jump area, a potential for Mike. But then, outside Roman Yang, Fong, the slash, we were making mention of it, end frame was actuated, and he caught the hit right when it came in time. And he got the elimination. He knocked down his opponent out the lobby. And Fong took to the Roman Yang number 1 against Akame. Goes for that extension here for that grapple bump into R&B, jump R&B. There it is with a release. And Wang Liang taking his fights as we were able to witness between him and Arano with 3 seconds, I believe, on the timer. Nope, 7. And that's coming after the lucky number here. But Star getting that V2, not getting any sort of confirmations from it. But he went ahead and did skills shot alone with the 2-1 into the musket, to the bow shot, headshot, and then to the F1 R&B. And just telegraph that jump LB. Frostbus yoinking the kill against Arano, though, outside Roman Yang. Fong seeing Frostbus having a little bit of trouble in that corner of the scare rush and took full advantage of it. Had the detach comes out from Fong, but it had no opportunities of any process. But the last confirmation from the F1 was the reason I think that we saw the elimination coming from here as AIS gets eliminated by Fong. That's my reasoning for it. And he's going to be the Keelan Zhang here for that ultimate for the MVP. And that's just a sick animation. I gotta go through with it. I gotta go through. That's a sick animation by Thunder Robot, Born for Gaming. That would take it away.
Nice strikes coming through from Shozang. And Shozang was able to find at least the first piece here that really gave him that amount of confidence and the momentum that was absolutely needed here. Spong, look at this though, was able to capture this moment here of getting that stun right before, as Frostibus was just trying so hard to maybe get the stun to be able to go off at the worst timing. Same thing with this one. Look at Wolfang, was able to capture the nice strikes. Now check this out. Mike is going to be able to come through with the nice strike, comes up top. Wolfang stays in the same location, waits for the moment for Mike to potentially attempt to strike, and then uses that towards momentum. Same thing with Wolfang doing it again in the house of the Frosty. Is able to do the exact same thing, catches him with the juggle, gets the strike, gets the finish. Yuan absolutely goes crazy and gets some nice revenge on the Wolfang, especially in a place where he was absolutely, there was no reason for him to really push onwards towards that. But man, oh man, did he say, you know what? I'm going to ruin this game for you. And he does just that. And look at the strike coming through from this one. You definitely do not want to get caught inside of that moment here, inside of the tornado. Catches Star on the outside here, says, hey buddy, you thought maybe there was an opportunity for that. Star held so long for that moment here, but does end up getting eliminated, but he's still happy with his performance. He's still held strong very, very for a little.
Highlights brought to you by Thunder Robot, Born for Gaming for this game as Game 4 concludes.
I mean, obviously strong start for some of our players, especially like Flying. And Wolves was able to really find some moments here with that momentum, and obviously with that new character, really able to put in a lot of work here. He's definitely started to struggle a little later on during those games here. But speaking of somebody else that was also struggling, we were talking about Frostibus earlier, who really was having a tough time with some of these last current games here, but he still was able to find his stride, capture some eliminations, at least get something. And there's one of them coming in from the realm of Yang. Meanwhile, Wolves back at it again, was able to get a second one inside of the realm of Yang, keeping that same momentum. He was able to find it, especially on a player like OUG's Mike, one of the top players in this game. Wolves really did play a really strong role here. WL really did a fantastic job, and he really was able to find his moments when he really needed to, shocking the world and shocking OUG's Mike as well yet again. And here comes Arano. Look at that, able to push them inside of the circle. Oh, catches them both getting stunned and shocked. And just like that, Arano able to dish it out on both sides here, is able to capture the momentum. Beautiful timing coming in from the parry, but was able to dish it out in some way to keep the game alive. And obviously, those stuns were going to be huge for Arano. And then speaking of Arano,
going for gaming and seeing about where round 5 really took us in for Holoroth.
Man, definitely Holoroth was a movement and a movie as well. Look at some of the play styles here, and we've seen Mike with that amount of aggression. Frostidus finally was able to capture some eliminations here. He ended up sadly with 2 eliminations towards that, but still was able to do at least something to keep the game alive for himself. Still was able to squeeze through with what they had and what they needed. As we see inside of this is Fong was able to capture the elimination inside of the realm of Yang. Meanwhile, Wolves gets caught up by that third party. Arano with an insane parry gets the finish. Wolves was playing with their food earlier for what I was telling y'all. I was like, why are you playing with your food? Risking getting eliminated for that. Just because I don't know if that was the best move. As Fong ends up getting caught towards this finish here, but he says, no, you're not done. I'm finished with you. As T Star is able to get that elimination midway through that fight, was able to try to rotate towards that and maintain that same amount of aggression that was needed from earlier. And look at Fong. Fong just causing problems for so many of these playstyles. And finally, at the very end of this, AS able to get a really nice strike towards that to get the finish and does what he needs to. But what a...
And just like that, we're going to have some highlights brought to you by Thunder Robot, Born for Gaming. Dobby, what's going through here for this final round, dog?
I mean, even with this amount of momentum here, I mean, Fong and a bunch of other players really were able to take that dynamic here and really show forth why they're some of the best players in the world. Obviously, OUG's Mike, you know, he's been having a little bit of a struggle throughout today here. He's been getting caught in some really tough situations, even though he's in top 3, so it doesn't really matter in these games. But today, in terms of this final game, he really put his work and all of that effort into this game. His execution was flawless. His times were really fantastic, and it really showed throughout all the eliminations that he received today in this final game. He probably received the most that he's received in one game that he's done the entire 5 games, whether it's both here inside of this beautiful striking finish between him and Wufeng inside of the realm of Yang, or both on the outskirts here when he got closer to the end of the circle. Same with Frostidus here, trying to see if he can gather some eliminations here. I mean, here would have been massive for him, though, to be able to garner that elimination. But Juan Yuan really comes through on top here. Beautiful insight to be able to pop that and separate from both players so that way both of them cannot strike him at the same time here, risking that elimination, risking getting out of here. I mean, he was able to see that space here, obviously, to see the tumult here. Getting that MVP is kind of something we don't really see too often, I would say. But obviously, something it's still good to see. 10K damage. The bow coming in with his most damage of almost 5K. He has 3 damage reductions. 3, not 1, not 2, but 3. Aerial Rend, Assassin's Lunge in another step, and a Health Soul Jade number 2. Yan Yuan, his 4th MVP. He's done a lot of time and he's done a lot of beautiful momentums throughout this game here, but definitely throughout today,